Good morning, everyone. I'm glad I didn't fall up on the stage, so that's already a win. My name is Alastair Strachan. I work at the RIPE NCC as one of the community development officers. I think everyone here probably knows the RIPE NCC, but just in case you don't, we're the regional internet registry for Europe, Middle East, and Central Asia. On top of the core of running the registry, we also do a whole host of other things. We have cool measurement networks, which I'm going to speak about in this presentation. We host one of the root servers. We do RPKI services, a whole host of things. I would say we're more than a registry, as corny as that sounds, but it is true. One of the things we also have is RIPE Labs. Now, RIPE Labs is our online blog, our portal where a whole host of different research, we have podcasts, we have a whole load of things, both from the RIPE NCC staff and also the community as a whole. And the reason I bring this up is because this is where we first published some of the research that was done on some cable damage that took place at the end of last year, or time's shifting very quickly, but last year. So I will also give a shout out to Emil. Emil is one of our data scientists at the RIPE NCC. I always like to say, if you hate this presentation, it's all Emil's fault. If you love it, it was all me, everything. But Emil was the one who noticed or took the initiative when we saw this cable damage happen, to take a deeper look into it, to see if we could see how the internet routed around it. Also, I just presented this in the US, so I may say routed instead of routed multiple times in this presentation. This slide just is going to give you a quick overview of the timeline which we're looking at. So the cables that we focused on were the BCS East-West and the C-LION1. There were outages of those towards the end of November 2024. They were restored actually quite quickly. There was a repair ship in the area, which was quite advantageous. There were some repeated outages, but this gives a kind of just an overview of the timeline in which we're looking at. Whenever there is cable damage, the media and a lot of people, it's, oh, the world's ending, Russia's coming for us. It's not always the case, and that's why we as the RIPE NCC always want to present as a neutral source of information. We wanted to see, rather than just the clickbait headlines, actually what was happening to the networks, how things were shifting, how traffic was rerouting. This is just a screenshot from one of the marine traffic apps. So the Russia story came from the fact it was a Russian ship that had left a Russian port. However, as this ship passed these cables, the damage was reported. It was taken in by Finnish authorities where they investigated, and it was caused by the ship dragging anchor. It was an accidental damage. Now, I've mentioned RIPE Atlas. RIPE Atlas, does anyone here have an Atlas probe or an anchor? Yes. So RIPE Atlas, for those who don't know, is our global network measurement. So we have actually a quick fun fact, my first job at the RIPE NCC many years ago was shipping V1 probes. So I just spent all day scanning and shipping tiny devices. I'm happy to say we're now up to over 13,000 probes, and we have over 800 anchors. Anchors are our kind of supersized probes. And we're running over 35,000 daily measurements. That's both user-defined and built-in. So with this, we have a wealth of data and information that we can use to do cool things like this. I've mentioned RIPE anchors. Anchors are these supersized probes. So probes really only run ping and traceroute. With anchors, they run ping, traceroute, DNS, and HTTPS measurements. And what's cool about the anchors is not only are they running these measurements, they also run every 4 minutes ongoing ping measurements to all the other anchors in our network. And that resulting mesh lets us observe latency changes and packet loss between anchors. So first up, we're going to look, this was the event 17th and 18th of November, and this was between the BCS East-West, which is between Sweden and Lithuania, and the C-LION1 between Germany and Finland, sorry. And we looked at the results on these anchor meshes between these countries around the reported time of the event. So in Germany, we have 100 anchors, Sweden 15, Finland 12, Lithuania 5. So we used these mesh measurements, and that enabled us to do a bit of a look as to what was happening with the paths. So on this page, we're looking at paths between anchors in Sweden and Lithuania, and this is 12 hours before and after the time of the event. Now, around 8 a.m. or 0800, however you say time, on the 17th of November, we saw this damage and we saw this latency. There was an increase in latency of about 10 to 20 milliseconds. So in order to get this, we subtract the minimum latency for a path during our observation, and there we can see the jumps that are taking place. So yeah, 8 a.m., 17th, we see this damage. We see the latency increase. Around the same time, this is paths between Germany and Finland. We saw, again, a slightly smaller increase of around 5 milliseconds this time. Now, what was interesting, although we saw this jump in latency, we really didn't see any change in packet loss. So the packet loss was nominal. Now, what this basically means is the internet is working. The end, thanks. We had a look at also the C-LION1. Now, this is a different cable, same location, and this is between anchor paths between Germany and Finland. Again, 12 hours before and after. Now, with this cable, we actually only saw a latency increase of around 5 milliseconds. The C-LION1 was actually quite lucky because there was a cable repair ship very close by. So it was actually fixed within a matter of days. And we see that the latency and packets basically returned to normal after that repair. However, there is this random thing. And the good thing is we have no idea what caused that. So that's not the most important or interesting of slides for you. But yeah, it really goes to show that there are so many factors that can influence how damage impacts performance. Now, I've included this one. Towards the beginning of this year, there was quite a substantial power outage across Spain and Portugal. And one of the amazing things about having all these probes and devices that measure everything, if they don't have power, they don't measure anything. So this is our messy slide that shows absolutely nothing apart from there was no, the infrastructure had been taken down by the power cut itself. So whilst the Atlas project is cool, it's not impervious to things like no power. So to sum up the Baltic cut area, the damage that took place in the Baltics, we saw around 20 to 30% of paths were a visible shift in latency, but no concurrent increase in packet loss. Basically, let's all pat ourselves on the back and go to the bar. Actually, it's a bit early for a bar. The internet routed around the damage. Yeah, it works. Now, we saw the latency, we saw that. What we wanted to have a look as well is not just what was happening, but how it was happening. So the initial analysis was based on these pings. We followed this up with a more in-depth analysis using traceroute data. And this was really to examine how the paths changed while the end-to-end connectivity was maintained. And what we noticed was there was kind of 3 levels of resilience. We saw inter-domain rerouting. Now, this is traffic rerouted through alternate ASs, IXPs, eBGP routing protocol. God, I hate that word. Routing protocol. We also saw intra-domain rerouting. So this is rerouting within networks over alternate paths. And then there was circuit-level rerouting. Now, this is rerouting actually at circuit level between routers. Same IP address. So these are the levels of resilience that we saw in this instance. Now, resilience is not guaranteed. And no matter what we do, there's always going to be events that cause more substantial damage, so we say. So in March 2024, there was a submarine landslide off the coast of the Ivory Coast. And it damaged actually 4 of the main cables that run alongside that coastal area. So that was the ACE, the main one, the SAT3, and the WACS. Now, with this, you can see in this very messy congestion and things, this is looking at paths between anchors in the UK and South Africa. We saw a latency increase of about 20 to 30 milliseconds, but we also saw quite a jump in packet loss. This was mainly, or what we believe the reason we saw these packet losses is because resilience, okay, we'll just put it on that. Our resilience is we'll put it on another cable. If all of the cables are taken out, that resilience is lost. Similar thing happened with the Red Sea around September this year. There was another 4 cables taken out. So the Falcon, the Seawee-Me, I don't know why I enjoy saying Seawee-Me so much. The IME-WE and the European India Gateway, similar situation with those. They were all taken out around similar times. We're not sure what the cause of this is. We believe it was another ship anchor drag. But with this, we saw quite a jump. So this is passed between France and India. And we actually saw a latency increase of about 100 milliseconds on this and a concurrent increase in packet loss. So with the Red Sea cable damage, we saw a packet loss of up to 50%, which is a significant increase around the time of that cable damage. Now, it may not look quite as big here, but we had to adjust the axes compared to the previous plots, which were 0 to 150 milliseconds. So it was a very big jump on this one. So the conclusions of this, the Baltic Sea, the internet routed around the damage, the resilience is there. It depends on these multiple levels of redundancies, both within the networks and between networks. We've also seen that resilience is not guaranteed, and it's important to remember that what may seem like, oh, it's fine, we can just put it there, isn't necessarily always the most resilient way or the most resilient way to confirm resilience. That's not right. The best thing that we can do is keep monitoring as the RIPE NCC, keep measuring and keep understanding. Now, this is where I'm going to switch over from cool information to free plug as to why you should be hosting a RIPE Atlas probe. No, so as I've mentioned, and as this presentation shows, the NCC is a neutral source of a whole lot of internet data, and we need vantage points to measure things like this, things like cable damage, when infrastructure goes down, and coverage is key. Now, I realize I'm saying this to you all as being in a country that is very well covered by Atlas probes, but we're always seeking hosts in far-off locations. Like you may have POPs places, you may have, God, I've forgotten the word. You may have stuff happening in different locations where we may need something. So if you have interest in Atlas or you want to host something, please come find me. I might not be able to answer the question, but I can certainly point you to the people who can. Alternatively, you can always just give us money. We do have sponsorship available for all of our data and measurement services. So if it's something that you are interested, but maybe you don't want to host a probe or you can't, we'll always happily accept financial contributions. I've got a few slides here that really is just mentioning the coverage we have in different areas. We have a lot of coverage in the West. Latin America, or South America, not so much. If you have any presence in any of these, I know that's a tiny slide, and I'm like, if you've got presence in these locations. But yeah, as you can see, we have good coverage in places. We could always do better. This is probably more useful to the people here. We're pretty green. There are a few countries, surprisingly, Norway is on there. I don't know why I'm surprised by the fact we don't have that many in Norway. But as I say, the coverage is really important. And if you haven't used Atlas before, have a look. Go to atlas.ripe.net. You'll find all the tools. We also have STAT, which is another interface that brings all of the data we have into one place. And if you are hosting a probe, thank you. Thank you for contributing to this. It really allows us to do cool insights and interesting things that are beneficial to the whole community. This, again, is just different regions with different stuff. You don't need to see this. And then I guess questions and comments, unless they're technical questions, and then I shall disappear into the night. But thank you. We love no questions.
Any questions?
Ah, damn you.
This will be an easy one. Ivan Beveridge from Almax. It's been a while since I've got another right probe.
Yeah.
But do you still give out probes?
We do. We're a lot more selective with where our probes are sent, but we do have VM probes now. We have VM and VM anchors, which are a lot easier for you to get, and they're quite easy to set up. The V1s were a bit of a it was a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not that technical, so everything was confusing to me. But we do have VM probes, and we do have them. We are shipping them, but we're very selective. It's specific AS numbers, so it's more the AS as opposed to the location that we're interested in. But if you have questions, you can always reach out, and we can say yes or no.
Yeah, fine. The question kind of was around where you don't have anything like that. So
well, that's it.
In houses or something in remote locations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I was actually wondering, you were talking about obviously the measurements and to the latency and packet loss, obviously. I was interested if you see any input into the data. Obviously, if you're seeing a circuit going to say 90% utilization, you will start to see things like packet loss.
Mm-hmm.
You may also see delays, sort of like a jitter, I think is probably where. Do you see those, any indication of those at lower traffic levels? I'm thinking if you have a cable cut and you see traffic rerouted and you start seeing harbingers of effectively
harbingers of death.
Yeah, well, it's something like that. You see a little bit of jitter in the figures, and you think, oh, it's gone to 60% or 70%. It's not a problem yet, but you can see it coming. Do you see anything like that in the figures?
I mean, the thing with this is Atlas is not necessarily designed to be a
QoS tool?
It's an instant. Tool. It's a lot of the times it's once something's happened, we can go back and view it, as opposed to being, oh shit, something's happening here, you should take a look at it. So it's a lot more. I mean, there are people who use it for real-time monitoring. That was the word I was looking for. There are people who use it for that, but it's not necessarily designed for it. So we very much use it as something's happened, let's go and find out what happened and how it worked, as opposed to alarm bells. Thank you.